All right, we have had a very, very interesting night when it comes to the new banned and restricted list for One Piece the card game. Normally don't like to double upload, but like this is the whole thing here. We've had a lot of feedback, a lot of people going crazy on every kind of social media, and I wanted to lay down a whole lot of things. There's going to be a fair amount of shots fired in this video. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I think people are going to talk about in the comments and other posts, but we are going to dive into things. So yeah, I just wanted to say that getting into this, if you like the content, think about hitting that subscribe button. We have a whole lot of things in the works over here at Universe X. Just put up a new Patreon with a article dropping tomorrow, which is Friday the 3rd, about Blue Black Sakazuki, and it's an in-depth like whole write-up. This is not just a couple page article, this is a write-up. So I have a preview already up on the Patreon, as well as my socials, so just go down, check the links, check the link tree, you'll find it. Past that, we are going to jump directly in. I hope this video can get over 100 likes like the last one, because we're gonna say some things. One, first and foremost, this video is gonna cover market stuff. It's going to cover competitive aspects. It's going to cover the differences between Japan and English. It's going to cover some misconceptions that people are having. And I do want to state the first and foremost thing that's one of these things that's like killing me the most. I have seen so many people go, OPO5 is right around the corner, so why even touch this? But the flip side of that is that OPO5 is right around the corner. So this category dominated meta that most people are boogeymanning right now is going to last for a month tops. It's a singular month of this perceived potential tier 0 category format. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing that I want to get at is that we are now looking at a hit where it is in direct conflict with product that is releasing in 8 days, while it's also hitting things that may not be as much of a factor in a month and a half. The couple things that I wanted to speak on when it comes to this is that when it comes to Bandai, if you guys have played a lot of Bandai games, because that's a whole nother thing. I'm not saying that everybody that plays One Piece is a first-time TCGer, but I am like in the know that a lot of One Piece players are One Piece fans first, TCG players second. A lot of players that play One Piece have played Digimon, they've played Vanguard, you know, they've come from all walks of life. But One Piece was made in Japan to be an every man's game. This is just a fact, it's not ignorable. When Bandai makes games, they set the level of competition from the get-go. Dragon Ball Super was made with best of 3 in sideboards. Digimon was made best of 1. One Piece was made best of 1, no sideboards. Battle Spirit Saga was made best of 3 with sideboarding. Bandai at the very jump wants to make people aware of the general vibe for the game that they're creating. Other clues that you have. In Dragon Ball, you are going through your entire deck. Even in as early as set 3, you are going through a lot of cards in your deck. In this current game, we have a card we can only use of 1 per deck, the ultimate keyword, our SCR normally, and we expect to see that card every single game if our decks are built correctly. In One Piece, a lot of decks go with half their deck not being seen a lot of the times. It is explosive in terms of advantage when a deck like Law can keep reusing the same top 5 searchers to go +1, not +2, not +3, but +1 outside of your normal draw per turn. There's also the 10 Dawn structure. The 10 Dawn structure and that cap exists that you can only play so many valid plays per turn. A boss and dawning up something. A medium bodied threat and a blocker. A medium bodied threat and a utility card. You are not playing, like if the game just goes too long, you are not dropping your hand on the board to try to push for game because you simply can't. These are structures in play to make sure that the game does not get too convoluted. That the game always stays a base level of difficulty and only so much can happen in a turn. The character limit is another function of this. You are only limited to 5 characters because they don't want these advanced, deepened board states where you have to think further than those 5 characters. With this being said, I do have to say that, like, when it comes to this ban list, we are in a position where Whitebeard has been dominating since set 2. Sets 2, set 3, set 4. And a lot of people are going, well, it's going to rotate out in set 5, and that is a given fact. Well, we now need to accept that JP and Global are not the same format. Set 1, very, very similar to what it was over in JP. Very. Set 2, Zoro was supposed to be the boogeyman. Keenan was supposed to be the out to Zoro. Whitebeard was supposed to be a deck. Law could still ball. We saw Keenan almost fall flat after the first couple weeks. Zoro and Whitebeard were rampant. And eventually, Whitebeard just became the de facto best deck in format without any equal in that set. You want to then move over to set 3, where, again, in Japan, Katakuri, Zoro, Whitebeard, Law kind of took equal parts to what was going on in general. And you had some splashes of Ace, some splashes of other decks, you know? Keenan could still even exist. Whereas in Global, Katakuri was a deck, but Katakuri took a lot of top slots, very few finishes, very few of the top 4 slots. Like, there was a lot of times where it was just Whitebeard and Zoro, to the point where people were literally like, what's the finals of the stream? Oh, Zoro versus Zoro, Whitebeard versus Whitebeard, Whitebeard versus Zoro, Law versus Zoro, Law versus Whitebeard. Ugh, okay. And that became a problem in itself. You get to set 4. In JP, Rebecca put Whitebeard on life support. Whitebeard was still there, but Rebecca was considered a do not approach matchup. And then you look over here, Dofi and Rebecca are taking top slots. They're even taking wins every now and then. But a lot of things have to go right for those decks to surmount the sea of Whitebeard players, Zoro players, Law players. Those decks are the gatekeepers of power and functionality, and everything else has to play around that to attempt to get to those top slots. So with this being said, people need to understand that our formats are different. America tends to like to just play a little more aggressively at times. We have our play styles. I think Sakazuki is going to not take time to catch on in this following format. In JP, I saw a lot of Purple Luffy and Enels, and Sakazuki started becoming dominant. I think Sakazuki is going to start off dominant over here because it's more akin to what the global playstyle likes to see. The constant draws, the ability to stabilize on a game. And then I think that this is just, yes, we do like aggro, but we also do like control too in terms of global players. But the thing I want to get at here is that our formats just are not the same. Going back to that set 2, like Jive, like you really saw that Kinemon was destroying these Zoro decks. But then you look at these Zoro decks, and when Kinemon was at its hype in Japan, lots of Zoro decks weren't even running that many rushers. And over here, we were like, wait, why? Like, of course, Zoro was getting folded by Keenan when Keenan can literally just tap all your little 1 and 2 drops and swing on them. Play rush. And Keenan had a problem where it didn't actually have the most counter power. So once it started getting pressed, you were kind of looking on dire straits by the time you could drop your Odins, by the time you were dropping certain other cards. So I just think that they do have to be addressed as separate formats. And this is one of those things where if Whitebeard doesn't get banned, yes, it should have been banned earlier, but if Whitebeard doesn't get banned now, you potentially look at a point where if it starts doing well, even in OP5, people are going to be even more mad. Come on, Bandai, it's been 4 sets and you still can't fix your game. That is the type of vibes that are going to come through if that is the case. And I'm going to be real about it. When you look at how things pair up, with Enel being the gatekeeper of annoyingness, not being able to die, Whitebeard having a huge hand and a bunch of thick bodies would actually play fairly well into that. The way we play Whitebeard, that same strategy is kind of how a lot of decks try to capitalize on Enel in the first place. You literally ended up whittling down their hand, and then you just need to have 3 quality swings plus your leader per turn to beat down on an L until they can no longer use their leader effect, they die, they can't counter that last swing, all these things. So this is just a big problem that I think that the global, like, that was the purpose of this global ban list. Now when it comes to that as well, I do want to say that Bandai, if you have been playing these games, you know how they operate. They do not like banning things without proper cause. And when I say cause, I mean the pie charts, the top cuts. These are all the things that really become, like, they can hear all of our complaints, but they need results in order to see what they do and do not want to do. Now, when it comes to those results, look at the pie charts now. People are asking why Tin Drop Big Mom is not out of the game, why Katakuri has not been touched. It's because when you look at these top 16 charts, these top 32 charts, it is a majority Law, Zoro, and Whitebeard, with a minority of Rebecca, Dofi, Katakuri, and sometimes Crocodile, these other things. And even when these guys win, unless they're winning every tournament in like a certain amount of time, Bandai does not see them as much of a threat as the Whitebeard that's taking up 30% of a top cut alone, maybe even half sometimes, as the Zoros and the Laws, who collectively with Whitebeard make up almost 60-70% of these top cuts. This is why that Katakuri did not receive any hits. Now, granted, any one of us who plays the game, who's at ground zero, we will see. And this has been a thing even in Dragon Ball. Like, I know if you have played Dragon Ball and you've watched my videos, you've seen it. The Boogeyman gets hit, and then you realize that the Boogeyman was the only person keeping one or two very not healthy decks from being played. And once the Boogeyman leaves, these decks are like, oh yeah, it's our time to shine, and they come out and they do their thing. Katakuri is and is not that Boogeyman, because on one end, Katakuri was being held back by Law, was being held back by Whitebeard. On the other hand, though, there are a lot of decks that can still play that never even got a chance to step outside because Law, Zoro, and Whitebeard were beating them horrendously. You wouldn't even sleeve up and travel to a tournament with these decks. And those decks are going to have a lot more chances to see if they can combat Katakuri in this, once again, singular month format. You got Magellans, you got Zephyrs. Purple, because of the addition of Magellan, may actually be something that can be played effectively against Yellow. We'll have to see. The testers are going to have to test. I'm going to test. I want to know for myself before I just condemn this singular pocket format into Katakuri City. Now, the other thing I want to put on is I've been seeing a lot of posts talking about Bandai USA or Bandai US or Bandai English, and that is hilarious because uninformed is going to be uninformed. I'm not going to say uninformed because this is not necessarily something that's been advertised, but the people that actually have been playing Bandai games for years, I'm looking at all you guys that played Naruto. You guys should know that Naruto was the last game that was actually made by a Bandai US branch. Bandai's games come out of Japan now. That's just how it is. So they're TCGs at least. So when people are like, Bandai US need to like get it together because Bandai JP has it on lock, it's like that SpongeBob meme where the guy has the walkie-talkie looking for the culprit and there's the wanted poster of SpongeBob in the back. It's the same dev team making these choices. It's just a simple matter that in Japan, while people are competitive, these things can kind of rock. It's kind of like the Wild West, whereas in global, the culture tends to like a more moderated metagame. They don't like it when cards just sit out and about until eventually a set power creeps it. If a card or leader or deck is making the game feel unfair, making it feel like the cards that you're buying are worthless because previous cards exist, generally the global meta will want things to change. And this comes into direct conflict with the people who don't care about the health of the metagame. They just want to be able to play what they want to play. And this is where we are getting into right now. You have some people going, finally, this should have happened sooner. You have some people going, I can no longer play the deck I wanted to play. You have some people going, I don't want this starter deck coming up with dead cards. Well, I'm going to also put this out there. I think Nami was overkill. I've actually posted it on Twitter. I think that this ban list would be perfect if they just made some sort of limit to Big Mom 10, whether it be putting her down to 2. I think because of the fact that you don't see as many cards as in Big Mom as you see in, per se, Whitebeard, you shouldn't put it to 1. But I think 2, Big Mom 10 at 2 would be good. But I also think that Nami should be unbanned. And then I think the rest of the changes could be fine. I think that's literally it. no more changes except for putting Big Mom on the limited list, restricted to 2 or something, and unbanning Nami. Now, that being said, a lot of people are wondering why Nami got banned. Nami got banned essentially for lost sins, because in Zoro, in Luffy, in the upcoming Luffy, in these red decks, Nami is a one-drop searcher that searches Straw Hat cards. They will always print Straw Hat cards, okay? They will always print Straw Hat cards. And lots of them will be coming back to red. They keep returning red. This is a known theme. When they make Straw Hat cards, they generally have decks in reds. They can have every now and then decks in other colors, but they're mostly in red. Now, in Zoro, you want to take it a step further. Nami is a one-drop searcher that searches out most of your deck that can also be pumped to become a valid swinger via one-drop boosters. Okay, take it a step further. In Law, Nami searches out your Chopper Blocker, your Zoros, your Luffys, your Radical Beam. Any additional red Straw Hat that will be incorporated into Law in the future will get right back in there. But the only difference between that and Zoro is that card, Nami, will be bounced back to hand and replayed for the +1. Then you get into the positions where you are bouncing a Dadan to play a a Law blocker, to then bounce another card to replay a Nami, and then you've drawn for the turn, you've searched for the Dadan, and then you've searched again for the Nami without dropping a singular card from your hand. Maybe one, I guess, if you really want to do the math on that one, but you're going plus on that one. And so because Law is the specific deck that can abuse that, Curly Dadan and Nami already put in work in Zoro being searchers that cantripped and then added bodies you can easily swing with. But in Law, they became recyclable engines that got way more mileage than the original break-even search they were supposed to receive. And this is why those cards are banned. Is the Nami hit a little rough? Yes, because she is the flagship searcher for the flagship crew in this flagship IP game. And that is the biggest part. And because of release schedules where they print things about 5 months ahead of time, and then you maybe probably have development happening months and months ahead of that, yeah, we probably won't see another Straw Hat Searcher. If they don't unban Nami, we probably won't see another Straw Hat Searcher for a bit now. Like booster set wise, we're looking at least 2 to 3 out here, I think. And then I think a lot of people would feel some type of way if they released an EX set randomly with a new Straw Hat Searcher and everybody felt like they had to buy it. They'd be like, wow, you're printing money. So I don't know how they're going to handle that. And that's not for me to know. I am not part of that marketing/dev team. I'm just trying to let everybody understand that these are the things that they're complaining about that don't quite make sense, because with the right know-how, you can see a lot of these lines forming. Some people are like, well, how are they gonna ban something that they're putting in a starter deck? Well, again, these things are printed 5 or 6 months in advance. That's just what the timetable I've seen when I look at when we start seeing pictures of cards, when distributors start seeing when their shipments are about to come in, when the occasional leak happens and we see a physical card in somebody's hand from some indescript place. Their cards should be physical for 4 to 6 months ahead of time. But that means the dev process has likely happened another half a year ahead of that. They don't just sit here in a week and just create all these cards. No, these things are in they're in circulation within the dev team for a while. So when it comes to this, are you going to seriously look somebody in the eye and say that Bandai should have known that they were going to hit Nami almost a year before they made this product? Make it make sense. That's a lot of foresight. And granted, yes, some testers may be able to do this, but I think a lot of people really overestimate the ramifications, the organization, and what it takes to have a team of dedicated testers for a game. Yes, Magic has done it. Magic is probably had the most successful version of it, but at the same time, there's a lot that goes into that the average person does not know. You have to scrape, you have to look at other models, you really have to put together a lot of pieces to put that picture into full focus. And yeah, there's no way to know that the Nami ban was going to happen when they were making this deck. There's just no way to know. But Yeah, for the people saying that the EN team is smoking something or something, bro, it's literally the same team. They're just two different formats, and we handle those differently. We play different decks for the most. Well, we play different decks. We play different styles. We gravitate more towards different decks, and because of that, the formats do need to be treated separately. Curly to Dan probably needed to go. It was a searcher that searched searchers that allowed you to just move the chains. They never intended decks to be gone through this fast, and this was just one of those things where it just happened. On top of that, there could have been some erratas, but we are again in a position where people just don't really. They're going to be angry about something regardless. You ban these cards, oh well, you should have made erratas. You errated the cards, oh well, the card doesn't even say what it does in real life. What are you going to do, reprint my alt art to make sure it matches the errata? Bro, like, it just, there's no pleasing everybody, but a company is trying to do what a company is trying to do. And when it comes to this, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with banning Nami, but I do admire wanting to make sure a format is healthy over just letting us buy a product and then being like, cool, now that you've bought it, we're gonna ban it because it's no longer moving in sales. Cough, cough, Konami. I played Yu-Gi-Oh for almost a decade. I know how it feels to watch a format in Japan be on fire, get it here, have the prices be jacked the crap up because you know it's tier 1 or tier 0, and then know that you have a solid 6 to like so months before this thing just gets banned, and you had no choice but to buy it if you want to be competitive. Yeah, no, I would rather them be transparent and be like, hey guys, sorry, but this is a problem. I'm sorry if you were looking forward to this alt art, here this is, than for them to just let us buy and be like, cool, and yeah, nah, by the way, now that you bought all these starter decks, let's do that. Which one do you feel is better or worse? Let me know in the comments. But this video has gone on for 21 minutes. I just wanted to talk about some of these things, some of my feelings on it. I think that for a month, we're gonna see, whether we see Katakuri dominate or whether we see other decks start to creep out of the woodworks, it's only going to be a month. Then we're in OPO 5. I think that Whitebeard, yeah, the trigger pull was late, but they wanted to make sure that OPO 4 wasn't going to start edging out Whitebeard like it did in Japan. And then when it didn't, they wanted to make sure that the same thing didn't happen in OPO 5, which I also admire. So let me know your thoughts in the comment. Just had to have a follow-up video to this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Bye.